Hello everyone, this hour on Verbling, the next in my Getting Results in Business series. We're working on making business decisions. This is the fourth out of what will probably be 8 or 9 classes. And so far we've worked on the vocabulary of personality and business decisions, the type of personality that leads to one kind of decision or another. We've worked on 2 sets of vocabulary, and we're going to try to put that together in a big speaking activity today where you get to use it all in a very active way. That's a little bit about my class. Here's a bit about me. I'm Jon-Eric, your Verbling teacher for this hour. I'm an American teacher from New York, hanging out in Lisbon, Portugal to bring you this class. By the way, here are 3 quick rules to help you participate. Don't forget to turn off, tune in, and open up. That means turn off your microphone when you're not speaking so we can keep the classroom quiet. Tune in to the new words you're learning. Use them actively so that I can correct you and give you feedback. And finally, open up to your classmates. Relax and have fun. We're all here to learn, and this is a safe and respectful place to practice your English. So, with that in mind, what I'm going to do is first, let me get my unit on screen so you can take a look. Whoops. And I've got to do one more important thing. What do I need to do? I need to also, I didn't have time to prepare part 2, which we're probably going to start today. So what I'm probably going to do is open up a PDF and just copy and paste certain sections for you to take a look at. That's probably what I'm going to end up doing here. So let me open that on my screen as well, and then we will get started. Give me just a second here. Hang on just a minute because I've got to open material on my side. One moment. Do I have it? Yeah, there we go. And we're on unit, where are we? Unit 7. Okay, fine. All right, so here's what we're going to do. First of all, just to begin, I want to know if you have any questions from either the progress test that I gave you for Unit 6, or if you have any questions from the homework that I sent late last night, early this morning. Because now would be the time to go over the questions if there's anything you wanted to talk about. Did all of you have a chance to work on the progress test 2 days ago and the homework yesterday?
It was 2 in the night when you sent it.
It was 1 in the night for me.
What? Okay, 2 for me.
So you didn't have a chance to look at it yet?
Yeah, no.
Okay, no problem. What about the progress test? Did any of you have a chance to do that? I think Sylvia, you did, right?
I did. And okay, for me was the first part was about, I think, name, verb. Yes, this one. I wrong the first 2, the 4, and the 7.
We always blank true.
Yeah.
Okay, well, in order to know this...
Okay, this was the terrible part for me.
Okay, but there's a reason for that. This is all what we say idiomatic language. This is all like stuff you would hear. These are fixed expressions in the language. Fixed expressions. So these are things that you would pick up through hearing, conversations, things that you would say when you're speaking, maybe even more than writing. No, not necessarily, but they're fixed expressions. So it means that you need more exposure, especially to spoken English. And that's what it means. Because, for example, we always blank true to our principle of fairness. What do you think? Shadow, Daniel, what answer would you fill in for that? Shadow, Daniel, what answer would you fill in for that?
One moment.
Oh, no one knows.
I did it, but I'm trying to find the answer.
The first one, the second one,
The first.
the first.
I think it's act.
Act true. I don't know about that.
No, state.
Stay true is correct. So we call these collocations. That's the actual name of this kind of, it's not really grammar. Collocations. Collocations. But what it means is a word pattern in the language. And the only way, that you can know it is just through exposure. Maybe more listening than writing, maybe more conversational English than written. Although these are business English, so they're not that informal. But anyway, Sylvia, just to give you an idea of where the language would come from. But I know why you don't know this too, Sylvia. You had a friend visit that week. You weren't in the class when we did that unit.
No, the first, no.
Yeah. So this is from the week when you were not there. This is from the previous unit. So I think you missed a lot of it. So that could be a part of the reason too. And then you said there was another section you had trouble with, right? The grammar part?
The third part?
Let's go to the third part. This one here.
It was from number 15, 15 and 17. Yes.
Here?
Yes.
Okay, so this is about word form, adjective or noun. Adjective or noun, right? By the way, Daniel and Shadow and Yuki now, and Andre, I'm just curious, what answer would you put for number 15? So this is the progress test that I gave you 2 days ago to help you think about, help you recall the main vocabulary from Unit 6. Right, so it was kind of a review and an evaluation of how much you could remember from Unit 6. Now we're doing Unit 7. But just out of curiosity, what answer would you put for number 15? He says he isn't blank against older applicants, but he never employs anyone over 40.
Prejudge.
I make a failure.
Prejudge. I heard prejudge. Daniel, what did you say?
I make a failure in this.
Ah.
Or prejudice.
And the 17.
Well, is it a noun or is it an adjective?
Prejudice.
Yeah.
Prejudice is correct. And how do you know? So that's an adjective. How do you know it's an adjective, by the way?
Because there is a is.
Exactly. Because there's the verb to be. So after the verb to be, 9 times out of 10, it's an adjective. Almost always. Like I am happy. It's an adjective. So
auxiliary verb.
What's that?
There is auxiliary verb.
What is the auxiliary verb?
Auxiliary verb is be. It is a verb to help main.
It's not auxiliary. It's the main verb.
Yeah.
Yeah. He isn't prejudiced. I know it says he says, right? But that's in a different clause. The sentence, the main sentence. If you extract the sentence, it's he subject isn't verb prejudiced adjective, and the rest of it is extra information. He says is just to report the information. That's a different sentence. I mean, it's part of the sentence, but it could be separated. He says what? He says he isn't prejudiced. So what I'm saying is he isn't prejudiced is a sentence. There's no auxiliary verb at all. 0 auxiliary verbs. But you were right. The first thing you said, after the verb to be, we follow it by what we call a copular adjective. An adjective.
I have learned that be is considered as an auxiliary verb, no?
When it's an auxiliary verb, yeah. Like, for example, he is skiing. There, it is absolutely an auxiliary verb. because the main verb is skiing.
Okay. Okay.
Here, prejudiced is when we took the past participle of the verb, right, to be prejudiced. It's like taking a past participle but using it as an adjective. So you can use it as a verb, but we're choosing to use it as an adjective here. But if you stick to that rule, you really can't go wrong. Be plus adjective. 9 times out of 10, it'll be an adjective. And what about 16? So, Sylvia, what I'm trying to say here is, what I'm trying to say here, Sylvia, is just that's really the clue. If you can put be in front of it, it's an adjective, and that will help you think of the ending of the word. And if you can put a the in front of it, it will have to be a noun. We could not say the prejudiced. Wouldn't work. There's no the or a and or the. It doesn't work. So 17, appearances, you said 17, right?
7, yeah. See, the same.
Appearances can be. Oh, look, we've got the verb to be, right?
Yeah.
So, Andre, what would you put here? Appearances can be what?
The appearances can be deception. Deception.
Deception would be a noun because we could say the deception.
Decepted.
Decepted would be the past. Not quite. Almost. You're getting there.
It should be an adjective.
It should be an adjective, yeah.
Appearance can be. Appearance can be deceptive.
Exactly.
Deceptive.
So again, because you have the verb to be, here's our formula: be plus adjective. That will be right 9 times out of 10. Over here, you've got ethic and ethical business. The plus noun. But look, if there's a noun, you can always put an adjective in front of the noun. So you can actually say, you can actually use this formula above. It's the plus noun, which is true. But look, I can say shirt, that's the shirt, and I can say the blue shirt. So here, the business, I can replace and with the, so I know it's a noun. But I can use an adjective to describe business, an ethical business. But just to show you, that's your key to quickly deciding whether it's a noun or an adjective. Can you replace the word and with the? So the is for nouns. Is there a be? If there's a be and it's not an auxiliary verb, if it's the main verb and it's be, then it will probably be an adjective, 90% of the time, let's say. So I don't know if that helps you, but Sylvia, that's what I would do if I had to do this exercise. First, recognize the part of speech. Is it a noun or is it an adjective? Then, it's only a matter of knowing the endings, which ones are possible, right? Adjective endings can be kal, ethical, iv, deceptive. They can be the past participle. Besides prejudiced, which is the past participle, colored. When we take the past, we use it as an adjective. To be colored, that would be another example. So that's the strategy that I would use. What do you think, Sylvia? Does that help at all?
My problem is more with the end of the term that recognize the adjective or a noun.
So you knew what part of speech it was, but you weren't sure of the ending.
Yes.
But my idea is, if you first concentrate on whether it's a noun or adjective, that gives you a limited set of choices for one or the other. Like kal, adjectives end with al, can never be nouns. So what I'm saying is, if you kind of have this list of adjective endings and noun endings, then they won't overlap. You have to know what your choices are. So do you think that in your notes you could start to list the different endings and then you've got a guide to go by. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I can do that.
So in your notes, make a page or something with, you know, at least 4 columns. In fact, what I normally do is this. Maybe we can do this in this session document. What I normally do is exactly this. I'll show you. I have, and this is a very common exercise. I have noun here, then I'll say verb here, and then I'll say adjective here, and then I'll say adverb here. And what you have to do is put the word through the different forms. So ethics, the noun.
Mhm.
Ethic, work ethic can also be a noun. To be, here with ethics is it can't really be a verb. We can say to be ethical. So there's no proper verb form. But the adjective is ethical, and the adverb would be ethically. So in your notes, you want to have a table like that. And then what you're going to start to see after a very short period of time, if you analyze some writing, is that there's a pattern. Certain endings can only be adjectives, certain endings can only be nouns. And then you should take out those patterns and put them in a set of flashcards and test yourself on them. And in a very short period of time, maybe 2-3 weeks at the most, maybe even faster, it'll be there. But that's what I would do. Every time you read or do an exercise, fill in the chart a little bit more until you can start to see the patterns. I can also tell you what they are. There's 21 patterns of common between Italian and English. There's, I think, 21 or 24 cognates, if I remember right. And which means that they're basically the same. So that will help you. I can give you that list. I don't know it offhand, but for example, in any Latin language, the ending, like in Italian, possibile, right, would be possible. So you just take off the le and you take it off and it becomes possible. Or sia becomes s. So, or differenza becomes difference. So there's like 24 of those cognates. So that helps you with adjectives and nouns. And then there's a few differences. Like, for example, we say reservation. What do you say in Italian?
Riservare.
Riservare. But what's the noun? What's the noun? Riserva, isn't it?
Yeah.
Riserva. So there's a few exceptions in the list, but generally the cognates means words that are the same in both languages. They look the same. If you know those and the 1 or 2 exceptions, that'll be a good head start. It helps you organize your ideas. So that's what I would do, and we can add that to the session document. It's a good exercise. Were there any other questions about this progress test, particularly the next page? Were there any questions about the expressions or the grammar here or here? No? We're cool?
Yep.
Alrighty then. If we're cool, then we're cool. So, what's wrong with my PDF? My PDF is stuck. Hold on a second. There we go. So let's get rid of this. Do you want to save it? No, I don't want to save that. Let's go here. And what we're going to do is take everything we've learned in vocabulary right now, and we're going to try to apply it to a speaking situation. In the last class, you took in the first class, we took these adjectives and we looked at an example, something that someone might say about themselves, about the personality, and we matched them up. In the last class, we used those words to compare and contrast a set of profiles, like you can see here. So that was the last thing that we did. In the second part of the class, we were a little bit rushed, but you listened to 4 short conversations, and then you yourself had to judge whether the person was an introvert, extrovert, sensor, intuitive, thinker, feeler. You had to judge what kind of personality type they had, and then you had to create, from what you heard, a set of collocations. Let me just quickly remind you of the collocations. So, as I said, there's more than one right answer, but what I tried to correct you on was the ones that you had heard in the text itself, the one that we read. So, for example, we had, I think it was way up, information, delay a decision, rely on feelings, trust instincts. So just matching column A and B here. Consider all the options, have confidence in my own judgment, get different perspectives, and decide between 2 things. What we're going to do now is to take that information, use the phrases that we learned yesterday and that we just reviewed to talk about the way you made 1 or 2 decisions in or out of work. Can anyone think of an example of a tough? No, earlier we talked about a life decision. Here it could be something more mundane. Can you think about a decision that you had to make? And what I want you to do is to use as many of those expressions that we just reviewed to talk about it. For example, I had a job opportunity a while ago to work at another online school. I could keep working at Verbling if I wanted to. I had to weigh up the information about the online job. I won't name the company, but they're a very famous company, and I had to delay my decision at first because I definitely needed some more teaching hours, but I wasn't really sure about it. One of the things I noticed is the company said that if you start working and for any reason you have to stop, you have to pay us a penalty of $500. So I had to trust my instincts that was a little strange. I never heard of a company penalizing you. If you quit, you quit. What penalty could there be? And what if they fire you? If they fire you, do they pay you compensation? I don't think so. So in the end, after considering all of my options, I decided not to take the job, even though I needed more hours, because it seemed like something was a bit fishy. So that was an example of a job offer that I had that I ended up turning down. Can anyone use some of these expressions to talk about a recent situation at work? Who's working these days? Andre, are you working? Are you studying?
Yes, I'm working right now. I have a break right now.
What do you do?
I'm a 3D developer, actually, about jewelry and diamonds.
You're a developer? I don't understand. So you develop what exactly?
I'm develop in 3D graphics.
Okay.
Rings, pendants, and jewelry, and I'm making the 3D models.
What do you use to do the models? What program do you use?
I'm use Rhinos Arrows.
I never heard of it.
Rhinos Arrows and sometimes Maya.
Maya. I know Maya.
Maya and 3D Max.
And 3D Max.
Yeah.
What about Sylvia? Do you do 3D stuff as well?
Yes.
Do you use Maya?
No, only 3D Studio.
3D Studio Max. So the same one that he's talking about.
Yeah.
What's the first one called? Ryanair? It sounds like an airline.
Rhinos Arrows.
Rhinoceros. Like the animal.
I've never heard of it. Never heard of it in my life.
Do you know about elephant?
Nope.
It's impossible.
Nope. Never heard of it. You mean the animal?
You're just kidding.
Do you mean the animal? When you go to the circus, you see an elephant. I know about those elephants. I haven't worked in computer graphics in a long time, maybe 5 years, and I only worked in 2D animation, so I just know After Effects and those kind of things. but no, never heard of it. Well, tell me something, Andre. Can you talk about the way you made an important decision recently at work using one of those, one or more of those expressions in the box in 7? It could be a big decision or a little decision. The important thing is that you try to use that vocabulary.
Recently, I didn't make an important decision. Maybe I only make a little decision, because since I don't chief or superior.
You don't have a, so you have to work for yourself more or less. You
Yes.
don't have a boss.
No, I have a lot of bosses.
Oh, you have a lot of bosses. Okay. So what I want you to do is use the expressions in number 7, see box A and B, and try to talk about the decision that you had to make in the same way that I did. I used weigh up information, delay my decision, trust my instincts. See how many of those you can use to tell us about your decision.
If I would wanna make a decision, I
Not
would.
if. Tell us one you did. Tell us your actual experience,
Okay.
even if it's a little one.
Usually, when I've made a decision, I most rely on my instincts.
Oh, okay, good. Tell us about one that you had to rely on your instincts. Tell us about one.
About instincts?
No, about your decision. Tell us about one. Give us an example. What's a decision you made at work where you relied on your instincts?
When I should to choose the shape of jewelry.
Okay.
I'm rely to my instincts.
Do you consider all the options before you trust your instincts?
Or decision.
Do you consider all the options? In other words, do you think about other factors that will help you, that will decide what shape the jewelry should be?
Maybe no, no, since I have enough time.
Since you don't have enough time. You do or you don't? So you only have a little bit of time to make the decision.
Yes, yes.
Okay, very good. So it sounds like, are you making more gut decisions or more head decisions? Remember that expression?
What could you repeat, teacher?
Take a look in the chat window. Remember this? Gut versus head decisions. Take a look in the chat window.
Okay. Usually, I'm forced to have a gut decision since I haven't enough time.
Got it. Very good, very good. So it's a good example. And we used 2 of those expressions. We used 2. We used trust my instincts, or trust whatever you said. I think it was rely on instincts, you said, which is good.
Usually my gut give me good advice.
Very good, very good. Let's see if we can get 1 or 2 others here before we go on to the next section. Would anyone else like to talk about a recent decision that they've made, particularly in the workplace? Particularly because this is a business class. I know not all of you are working, but it can be something related to school as well. Sylvia, have you made a decision recently? You're at school right now.
Yes, I'm at school right now.
I want you to use no less than 2 of those expressions in box number 7. No less than 2 to tell us about it.
Okay.
God.
Different perspective. Okay. I am looking for all the options that I could have after my degree. And so for now, my decision is okay. Okay, for now, okay, I have to decide between two options: go to work or follow my studies. And for my decision is to continue to study and try to enter in a PhD program.
Okay, very good, very good. So the two expressions you used were look at all the options.
All the options, my decision, and decide between.
Decide between. There you go. So the reason we're doing this is because it helps get the expressions which you know are native expressions, things that people would say, to get it into your memory. So if it's in your working memory, it'll be there later when you need it, and you know they sound good. Let's get one more opinion.
Me?
No, I'm from anyone. Class. Anyone else want to talk about a recent decision? Anyone else? No one else? Is everyone asleep? Yuki, Shadow, Daniel? No?
They are indecisive. Guys.
They're indecisive. Exactly. Which is a good vocabulary word.
Yes, indeed, I'm indecisive.
I think is the only way to memorize vocabulary. Try to use them immediately.
I think it's a very good idea too, because the moment you use it, you have an experience, and it's a lot easier to recall an experience than it is to recall an abstract word. It's a lot easier to remember if you can think about when you used it. So yeah, use it.
We could have a picture in mind about that word.
I agree. And use it in class, and then try to make a point to use it at least once before you go to bed, even if it's just mental. Walk around your room, look at an object, and think, I'm weighing up my options of whether or not to smash this object. I don't know, but you have to try to make an effort to use it actively at least once before you go to bed. The reason is, if you review before you go to sleep, it's a scientific fact, according to research, that it will signal to the part of your brain that has to decide what's important and what isn't. It'll signal that it's important, and you'll be 10 times more likely to remember it the next day. Okay. So it's a very, very good idea. Even if you just walk around the room and mentally just say them to yourselves according to whatever you see.
Yes, I have also a comment and advice for all guys in the class.
Guys? Only guys?
Guys, I mean girls and boys.
Ah, okay.
We should on the evening we should review some vocabulary, and after that do nothing.
Do nothing.
Do nothing and go to sleep.
I like that. I like doing nothing.
I mean do nothing after reviewing some vocabulary.
That sounds great. I like that. Do nothing and go to sleep. I'm going to do it right now. Yeah, no, I agree, because that way you're not distracted. You'll remember it much more clearly. I agree. It's a very good advice.
And also start the next day should be start from reviewing and using some exercises. It would turn up our mind.
I'm going to leave everyone, and Andre is going to teach the class. Andre, you take over. Andre, I'm sorry. You take over, Andre. You've got much better advice. By the way, did you know that there's been research about language learning and exercise? And it's crazy as it sounds. If you do certain activities like reading while you're exercising, you're actually much more likely to retain information. Nobody knows why, but for some reason, if you're doing physical activity, you tend to remember more. So if you're on your exercise bike reading a text, you're more likely to recall it than if you're not. True story. I can give you the scientific view.
You might get tired before you could learn something.
Maybe. Could.
Oh.
But what? But what
Yeah,
you did learn, you'll remember.
because
Sorry, teacher. Teacher,
Yes?
did I offend you?
Offend me? Why?
Just a few moments later by my speech.
Offend you? You must be joking.
Cause you say that you gonna leave out the class.
Yeah, because you've got better ideas than I do, so you should teach. Why would I be offended? You make my job easier.
Okay.
Offended. Oh my God, what are you thinking? Look at number 9 here. Last activity. This is our big speaking activity, I think. Let me just make sure. Hold on. Is it 9 or 10? Yeah, this is it. Okay. So it asks us to work with a partner. Well, we're going to be each other's partners. What is a step English lesson? Oh, step. Oh, got it. Yeah. Okay. It's true. One of the most famous polyglots alive today, very famous guy, because he's not fluent, but he speaks 60 languages. He's not fluent in all of them, but he understands and reads at least 60 languages. A lot of them are dialects of each other. So he can read English and Frisian, which are almost the same language, or whatever, or German and Old German, or But so okay, a lot of the languages are very similar, but he learns them by repeating what he hears, listening to audio tapes and repeating, and walking very fast back and forth. And he's been doing this since the 90s. And then later there was research to actually show that it's actually true. It actually does help your memory in some way. So, Sylvia, you're on the right track. Although I don't really know what step is. What is step? Is that dance?
Yeah, it's like a gym. There
Like
is it's step. Well, it's in English, I think.
I know it is. I don't exercise, so I don't know. I don't do any physical
Me too,
activity.
but
I just sit in a chair all day, and that's all I do. Well, let's take a look at this. We're going to be each other's partners here. What personality types from the text from the last few days would be most suitable for these jobs? What you've got to do here is, first, we're going to decide what personality type fits, and then what we're going to do is create a profile for the job that you do. So you're going to imagine that you're hiring someone, and you've got to create a profile of what kind of candidate would best fit your job. So in part 1, we're going to decide what personality types fit these particular jobs. What I'd like everyone to do is to pick one of those, go back to the text using both sets of keywords and expressions. So the keywords are in bold, the expressions we just reviewed a moment ago. Talk a little bit about the personality type that you think would best fit that job. Okay? So, let's all pick one, but let's make sure we don't pick the same one. Yuki, which one would you like to do out of that list on number 9?
On number 9, air traffic controller, sales manager, website. Maybe I'd like to be a salesman. No, I'd like to be a human resources manager, because I was struggled from them when I got the job.
Yes,
So,
they're notorious. Okay, so you're going to talk about the personality type. You're going to have to give a fair assessment of the personality type of the human resources manager. Shadow, which of those do you think you could talk about?
Air traffic controller.
Sounds good. Okay. Daniel?
Account controller.
Account controller.
Accounts
Okay.
controller.
Good. Andre?
Website designer.
Perfect. Sylvia?
sales manager.
Okay, there you go. Which one is left? Office administrator, right? Okay, maybe I can do that. So look, let me give you a quick demonstration, and then you can do it in a similar way if you like, just to show you what I mean. So, give me a second here. Do I have a good example for you? Not really. Okay, I'm just going to have to make it up. Okay, so an office manager, what would I say? Well, I've got students who are office managers, actually, so maybe I can talk about this. And I've got to use outgoing, impulsive, so no. Okay, well, I'd say an office manager um, should take a fairly rational approach and be a little bit detached, because as an office manager, it's very easy to take things personally. So my students who are office managers, one thing I noticed about them is that they tend to be not just detached, but they tend to be very, um, sort of self-contained, but at the same time, uh, you know, what's the word? Very easygoing, because they tend to take a lot of flack. Do you know that expression?
No.
Take flack. Flack Flak means bullets. If you're in the army, if you're in the war, and people are shooting at you, you have to wear a flak jacket. A flak jacket is a bulletproof vest. So if you take a lot of flak, it means you're taking a lot of abuse from people. So I would say an office manager has to really have confidence in their own judgment, for sure. Um, have the ability to get different perspectives on things, but the most important thing is that they're laid back and that they don't take things personally. So they have to be maybe more of a thinker than a feeler, and and perhaps a little bit of an introvert, only because if they're too extroverted, they're going to be talking rather than listening, and that might be a bad thing when you're dealing with a high stress environment. Listening is a better skill. So all in all, I think office managers are better if they're a little bit more rational and more introverted. That's what I'd say about office managers. Yuki, what would you say about human resource managers?
As long as human resource manager, the character of suitable for human resource manager goes,
Uh-huh.
I'd like to say that this job is very have a frequent opportunity to communicate with many people. So human resources manager should be outgoing,
Okay, good.
so they have to be extroverts, and of course they are kind of employment, so a kind of employer, so they have to employ a good person with a certain time limit, so they have to be decisive, determined. So they have to be judges, and they are demanded a correct answer. So, but not that their decision does not decision have to be not have to be a conventional, not to be extra central. So I think judge is the best quality for them.
Okay, very good. So you basically hit all the vocabulary words, which
Not
was
all.
pretty much all. Very good. Don't forget, you've also got those key expressions from part 7 too that you can use. This one here. Oops. Don't forget about those too. So you can always add in the collocations like weigh up information, delay decisions, rely on feelings too. Okay?
Okay.
Don't forget about those. Okay, but very good, very good. Who was next on the list? Shadow, you were talking about air traffic controllers.
Yeah. Okay. Air traffic controller. He should be have a strong character, self-confidence about her decision, because his job is very important for people.
Why do you say his job? Why does it have to be a he? Why can't it be a she?
he, it's for women and men.
No, it isn't. Not in my class, it isn't. That's
I mean, for someone we don't know, we used to say he.
no, you don't. You absolutely don't. If you do, you will be judged. So, you got to say he or she, or to be politically correct, you have to say he or she, or you've got to pluralize it. And you've got to say air traffic controllers are people who, or they are. So if you make it plural, you avoid the problem altogether. But
Okay.
be very careful, because if you use he particularly, you're going to be judged in some situations. So that's why I'm saying it to you. It's of course people do it, but it'll sound bad, especially in a business situation.
Okay.
So either plural, or if you're
So,
writing formal writing, a lot of times academics will use she as an attempt to acknowledge that in the past language was very sexist. I personally don't like to do that. I like to try to pluralize it because I think it's fairer that way. So how would you say it as a plural? Air traffic controllers, what?
yeah, okay. Um, as an air traffic controller,
If you
I
say it like
forget
that, you've
what
got to
I
say
want.
he or she, right?
Okay, I'm gonna say they. They make decision. They have to make decision quickly by following rules and details and understanding every details. Um, and one thing that um, it's important.
Uh-huh.
They have sometimes or in some issues trust their feelings. If I mean I don't know, but as if they lost, I mean the electronic things that help them to. I don't
Yeah,
know how
they've
to
got a
say.
lot of information. They've got a lot of meters and gauges and things to get information quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So you mean sometimes they probably have to trust their feelings because they have to make a decision really quick.
Uh-huh. I think they have to be more judger than perceivers
Okay, why is that? Sounds good.
because
Why?
because I think judges um, they care about rules and schedule
Uh-huh.
more than perceivers. So I think this job is not more flexible.
Yeah,
Like,
you won't want to be too flexible when you're deciding where the plane should land. Exactly.
mhm,
Well, we've got water over there, or we've got the runway. You decide.
okay,
You wouldn't want to be very flexible when it comes to landing a plane. I agree. Okay, good. So more of a judger than a perceiver. Sounds good. And you used at least one of those expressions. You said trust their feelings, right?
mm-hmm,
If I ask you a question, it will be to get you to think about how to use some of those collocations. Um, do you think they have to decide between life and death in that kind of job? Are the
no,
stakes that high?
they have to. Sorry, I want to see the. Okay, wait. They have to consider all options.
Ah, okay. Did you print out the
I
presentation?
I wrote it a note
You
about this
wrote.
thing.
You are the first student to ever take this class. Unbelievable.
The serious
Amazing.
student.
The serious one. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
You are
Very good.
excellent.
Very good.
Very
Very
serious
good.
student.
Even I don't take notes. Okay, very good. By the way, I forgot. I did take a note, Yuki. You said something about they have to be good at communication. I changed it to communicative job. It's a very communicative job. I forgot to say that earlier, Yuki.
Communicative.
Communicative. So I wrote.
Communicative. I often take mistake. Yes, I often make mistake. Yes,
I was writing it.
Confusing. Yes.
I was writing it. I
Communicable and community.
Communicative.
Communicative.
There you go. There you go.
Okay.
I wasn't correcting you. I was just giving you a shorter way to say what you were saying. It wasn't actually a correction. Okay. And Shadow, everything you said was fine, and I like the fact that you're being proactive in using the expressions. It's good. Now you have to follow Andrea's advice, and before you go to bed, you have to review these, do nothing, and go to sleep.
Okay.
Daniel, which one were you? You were the accounts guy, right?
Accounts. Yes.
Okay, tell us a little bit about the profile of the accounts guy.
Out of the profile, I think he must be a smart person.
He, not again with the he. Come on, Daniel.
They.
Good.
They.
I said accounts guy, but I was
They must-
joking. I confused you. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
okay. No problem. They must be a smart person, very good in numbers and maths.
They must be smart people, very good at numbers and math. Smart people.
They must be very focused when it's working. I think
They must be very focused when they're working.
when they're working. There must be honest and direct with their boss because money is important, or the most important in a company. There must be methodicals in their tasks.
There you go. Good. That's it. Tasks. Good.
Tasks. Very determined person. I mean, he must keep their deadlines.
Keep 2 deadlines, right?
Complete their tasks on time. And a very serious person.
So all in all, Daniel, which word sums up the personality type of the accounts controller? All in all, it's a what? If you had to choose, all in all, which term best fits the accounts controller? Between extrovert, introvert, thinker, feeler, sensor, intuitive, judger.
Okay. An introvert, a thinker, sensor, and judger.
Oh, okay. You're going to go for the hat trick. All 4. Okay, very good. So you could say that as a summary like this. So, all in all, I'd say. So you can start off like that as your conclusion, Daniel. So all in all, I'd say the accountant is equal parts, and then you can say what you're going to say. Equal parts, by the way. Equal parts. What were the 4 you said? Introvert?
Introvert, thinker, sensor, and judger.
And judger. Okay.
It's a very general idea. I don't know.
It's fine. It's fine. So if you look at my 2 expressions in the chat window, you can put them together. So all in all, I'd say an accounts controller is equal parts introvert. I wrote introverts, mistake. Equal parts introvert, thinker, sensor, and judger. That is a good way to show that you've made a conclusion from your earlier points. It brings everything together and makes it more memorable for the person listening. So sounds good. Andre, which one were you? You were the web designer, right?
Yes, actually, we need an web designer at IT department, and I think that's employee should be creative, and also he should be flexible, since we have a tricky superior.
Should be flexible since we have what? I couldn't hear that word.
Tricky superior.
Strict superior.
Strict superior. Yeah.
Yeah.
and since we have a cutting-edge website, he should be able to work with that and should be able to write and should be able to coding.
Should be able to code.
Code in different computer programming language.
So if you're going to use one of those expressions, one of those collocations from earlier, for example, have confidence in, how would you finish that sentence? They should have confidence in what?
In cutting-edge technologies.
They should have confidence in cutting-edge technology. So does that mean that they would rely more on the new computer languages and stuff like that, rather than the old standards? In other words, I don't know anything about coding, but should they know a lot about, I don't know, HTML5, and it doesn't matter so much if they know C?
He should rely on C++, I think.
C++. Oh, that's pretty easy, isn't it? Isn't C++ one of the easier ones? That's what I've heard.
I don't think so.
No?
I'm sure I don't agree with that. I don't sure.
It shows you how little I know. I don't know anything about coding.
And I think it should be equal part. He should have equal part as feeler and thinker.
Ah, that's interesting. So he should be, well, again, be careful about the he. They should be equal parts feeler and thinker. Okay, so it's better to have a balance between your gut and your head in this job. Is that right? It's better to have more balance.
I'd go along with that.
Okay, very good, very good. All right, it sounds good. Sylvia, I think you were the last one to go, and you were doing the...
Sales manager.
Sales manager, okay. So give us your profile. Again, try to use as much of the vocabulary, but also one or two of the key collocations from part 7, if you can.
Okay. As far as sales manager goes,
Very good.
The rule.
You and Yuki like that expression. Okay. As far as the sales managers go, yeah?
The role usually involves talent development, leadership, and okay, there are usually extrovert and outgoing people.
Extroverted,
The other page, really no, the other key expression.
Way up, delay, rely, trust, consider, have confidence in, get different, whatever, decide between. Some of those.
Because they can be impulsive, but they can be impulsive, and they need to focus on their job and on the sales forecasting. And I think, in my opinion, I think they have also to have a really strong instinctive in their decision.
They have to rely on their instincts.
Yeah, rely on instincts.
Or they have to rely strongly on their instincts is another way. They have to rely strongly on their instincts.
Because they need to, with only, they need to distinguish the different personality only with a look. Okay.
We have to say at a glance. At a glance, not a look, but at a glance.
At a glance.
That means that you can make a snap decision, but the right decision. You can take in information quickly at a glance.
Yes.
Good expression, at a glance. So all in all, how would you characterize your sales manager out of those terms?
An extrovert and feeler.
So equal parts extrovert and feeler, is it right?
Yes.
Equal parts extrovert and feeler.
And not equal parts because they need also to think. They need to do the right decision in a snap decision. So maybe they are not feeler, but 80% extrovert and
so more extrovert than more extrovert than feeler.
Yes.
Okay, good. Look, we've got some really good vocabulary here. The best thing you can do is to take your job or your prospective job, either the job you're doing now or the job that you're training to do, either one, and write a short profile. Imagine that you were going to hire someone like yourself. Imagine you were going to hire someone to replace yourself. Either way, what kind of profile would you expect from that candidate? So I would write one about being an online English teacher. Yuki would write one about being a translator, I guess. Sylvia, you'd write one about being an architect. Andrea, you'd write one about being a designer. Daniel, I have no idea what you do. I forgot.
Counter.
What?
Account controller.
Account controller. But that's not what you really do in your life, is it?
No. I'm surveyor.
Surveyor. Okay, good. So you're going to write one about being a surveyor. You're going to write up that one. And Shadow, are you studying or working? I don't remember what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm studying.
And so what's your future job? What do you think?
Lawyer.
Lawyer. Unbelievable. Perfect. There you go.
Okay.
That's really good because we got different jobs. That means we can really compare and contrast different things. And I'll bring in one of my own. So I'll try to send that to you as a homework, but remember, your job is to write about, your homework is to write a profile of your actual job, not the one you were doing in class. I want you to really talk about your own job because it'll personalize these terms. Think about using some of the key expressions today, like equal parts, more X than Y. So all in all, I'd say, good way to conclude. As far as blank goes is a good way to rephrase the question. Okay, think about some of those and make sure that you're using both the vocabulary and the collocations in your description. Make sure you're using both. I'll summarize that and send it to you as a homework. Don't forget there was a little homework from yesterday that I sent you early in the morning, so you can do that as well and self-correct. And the next class, I believe, will be on Monday, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, we're going to move on to more practical things with with making decisions on Monday. Tomorrow, I believe, is hot topics. Tomorrow's Friday, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tomorrow, I'm going to find a hot topic for you. One other than Ebola. I'm going to find another one. But if you have a hot topic you want to discuss, send me a message, and I'll see if I can put it together tonight. So think about that.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
My ears thirsty for the next.
What's that? Sorry?
My ears thirsty for the next class.
You're a poet. My ears. All right. Bye for now, everyone. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Bye
Have
for
a good
now.
day. See you.